Alright, I'm gonna go through the neutral commons. Yeah, neutral commons. Jeweled Scarab. 2 mana 1/1 discover a 3-cost card. The cool thing about this is if you play on turn 2, you can curve out like automatically, kind of, because you always get the 3-drop card. But it's actually might have more implications than we think late game, because 3 mana cards are known for being a lot of situational cards, like Big Game Hunters on 3, Mind Control Text on 3, and there's one card that like gets bigger for every death rattle your opponent has. I forgot the name of it. But anyways, 3 cards, there's a lot of 3-drop minions, there's a lot of situational cards, so maybe late game you could use it as like a digging for a Big Game Hunter potentially. Early game you can play it. But still, 2 mana for 1/1 in this metagame. Looking at just how weak a Novice Engineer is when someone plays it, this has to be significantly better than Novice Engineer later on, and Novice Engineer is already pretty good later on, so I just think it's too weak to be really good. But it's a beast, so you see it coming from like web spinners and stuff now, and definitely changes some of that dynamic. A little Exorcist, yeah. Why are they saying beast? Like everything is a beast. 4 mana, 3/3, Tomb Spider. Battlecry, discover a beast. A beast that discovers a beast. The card that is most comparable to Tomb Spider is Gnomish Inventor, since it's the 4 mana 2/4 that draws a card. This is discover beast, kind of like draw a card. Ultimately, I don't think it's that. Like every single constructed deck that's used Gnomish Inventor is a special deck that really wants to cycle through their own deck and doesn't just want to discover a random beast like for another minion. It's like something like Patron Warrior, or maybe like something like Freeze Mage, these kind of decks. So I think it's fairly weak. Murloc Tinyfin, basically a Wisp that's a Murloc. Pretty cool, really cute. Otherwise, not too much implications. Yeah, it's a Murloc actually. Murloc is a huge thing because Murlocs have a really, like, Murloc is a tribe with strong synergy, whereas Mech is a tribe with weak synergy, kind of like Dragon is a tribe with weak synergy. Yeah, I guess if Murloc is a thing, it's good. Like, it's a Murloc. I wouldn't mind Murlocs making a comeback to Hearthstone, because I think one of the bad things about Hearthstone, or problems with the game, is that aggro decks have too much lasting potential. Not really reach. Like, few aggro decks have reach right now, other than Face Hunter and stuff, but aggro decks like never run out of cards. Like Secret Paladin is just like play cards forever. As a control deck, a lot of times they just play like Doctor 6, Doctor 7, Doctor 8. It's like, they don't even seem like an aggro deck. They have like late game stuff as well. Just because of Hearthstone, like there's no counter spells and things like that, so you can you just like get a mana every turn, so they just have like these decks that never run out of steam. And Murloc decks actually run out of steam, so like having a 0 mana 1/1 Murloc, while it's strong to combo with a War Leader or like any of the Murloc buff cards, Murloc cards are known for running out of cards. Like they run out of steam, so it's hard to run 0 mana Murlocs, like a 0 mana weak minion. So definitely wouldn't mind this deck, like Murlocs making a comeback. 2 mana 3/2, huge Toad. Deal 1 damage to random beast. Wow, this art is so cool. It doesn't even look like from Hearthstone or from Warcraft. In a way, I think this is better than Flame Juggler, because when you're playing a 2-drop, oftentimes it's on empty board, and Flame Juggler has like nothing to hit, whereas Huge Toad, by the time it dies, there might have something to hit. Beast is a good thing, I think, unless you're getting Nessa Hemingwayed. Deal 1 damage to random enemy. 3/2 is probably better than 2/3. I mean, it's okay. It's like, these cards like Flame Juggler and Huge Toad are never going to take over the meta game, right? It's like, they're maybe okay, they might be used in some decks, but it's not going to be a card like Knife Juggler, which potentially just crushes someone. And it's not going to be something like Sun Fury Protector or like super high impact. It's just kind of like a low impact filler card. Probably not going to see a lot of constructed. Even if you do see a random deck with Flame Juggler, it's like, it's not a key part of the deck. It's just like a okay random filler minion in the deck. I've never seen this card before, Fossilized Dinosaur. I've seen all the cards other than this one, because I thought I saw them all. Nope. That's bad. That's so bad. Wait, this is like the worst card in the whole expansion. 8 mana for 8 taunt. That's not good, right? 4 mana for 3/4 mech. If you control another mech, discover a mech. It's like a reverse Shredder in a way at 3/4, but you discover a mech instead of getting a free 2-drop. Looks like it's weaker than Shredder. Definitely weaker than Shredder. Iron Bark with conditional taunt. You have to have a taunt for it to be Iron Bark, and Iron Bark isn't used. If we're talking about from constructed, I doubt that that's relevant. And it just gets BGH, right? If you want to think of it as Gnomish Inventor, it's pretty cool, but Gnomish Inventor is only used, like if we look at the precedence in constructed. Nourishment Vector is only used in decks that want to draw specific things, like, or really want to cycle through decks like Freeze Mage and Patron War and things like that. In mech decks, you'd rather have more power. Like Battlecry, draw another mech is. You just don't want to draw more mechs if you're playing a mech deck. You just want to play Mech Warper, Shredder. Just like you just want to run them over and kill them. It's not like tempo is the key word for mech decks. That's not an effect you would really want. I don't feel like it's a good card. Anubisath Sentinel, Death Rattle, give a friendly minion +3/+3, 5 mana 4/4. It's just not good. 5 mana for 7/7 is decent, but again, you don't just count Cult Master Dark Cultist as a 3 mana for a 3/7, right? That's just not what it is, and so it's not a 5 mana for 7/7. It's like mostly 5 mana for 4. Because most of the time when these cards die, the isolated and the killer minions, it's just like way too weak. I wouldn't be able to see any constructed deck wanting to use a 5 mana like this card. Not even close. Wobbling Runts, 6 mana, 2/6 Death Rattle, summon 3/2/2 Runts. So like the bad thing about this card is it's a 2/6. These kind of Death Rattle effects are much better in high power minions. So if this was like a 6/2 maybe, even though 6/2 may be a little bit too squishy, maybe something like a 5/4 or something, because if you're using this as an anti-aggro card, it takes too long for it to die and then get the 3 runs to trade off. And if you're using this as an aggro card, control decks are just going to ignore it. It's definitely interesting because it's like, it seems like better than cards like Grand Crusader and things like that. It's a 6-drop, while it is competitive, all the 6-drops do something weird, and this is just like a strong proactive one. Like most of the 6-drops are like Sylvanas or Justicar. Even though they're good, it's like they're all situational. It's kind of like just a strong one, like a proactive one, but it's like having a Death Rattle effect as a 2/6 just generally isn't that good. We can kind of compare it to Karen Bloodhoof, which is pretty much never used in any constructed deck anymore, but it's kind of close on the power level. I'd say Karen's body is better on the first half, whereas the 3 runs are better. And it's not a legendary, so you can use 2 of them if you want, but it's hard to really want to use 2 Wobbling Runts. Summoning Stone, 5 mana 0/6. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random minion of the same cost. Oh, so it's like a combo card. This reminds me of the Tavern Brawl one week where every single card was like that. I guess it's so. I don't know if this would really belong in any archetype right now. It has to be something very spell heavy. It seems like a little bit slow. It definitely seems like a win more card. The 2 decks that I see that it might be belonging. Yeah, obviously you don't solve stats for this. Okay, so the 2 classes I think that this deck belongs in, this card belongs in the most, are Freeze Mage. You can play this with a Frostbite to protect it, and then you could just go crazy, kind of like 77 Frostbite, you get a 3-drop, and then it probably doesn't die. Because the weakness of this is it's weak to creatures attacking it. It's 0/6, it doesn't kill anything, so it doesn't fight back. And I can see that this Rogue, where it can play Sunstone prep and stuff, I don't feel like it's that strong for Rogue. I feel like there's, if anything, like the most obvious and best combo I see is this Frost Nova. So maybe, like it has to, like I feel like if this card might just be like the best in some kind of mage deck with Frost Nova, Freeze Mage or something. It's actually pretty interesting, really interesting with Frost Nova actually. Eerie Statue, can't attack unless it's the only minion on the battlefield. So I actually thought about this card a lot. If you just want, so at first I thought this card was a card where control decks use to beat aggro decks, because aggro decks can't use the Eerie Statue. It's not going to be the only creature on the battlefield. In control decks, you might not have other minions, but if you think about it, if you're like trying to kill a bunch of knife jugglers and muster for battle tokens and like leper gnomes and stuff, you don't really need a 7/7. It just doesn't matter, right? You'd probably even rather have Ascension against those things, even if you're a control deck. It takes much too long to trade. If you're like, there's not many control decks that just want to go face. Like, say they play Leper Gnome, I play Eerie Statue and hit you in the face. I definitely don't think that Handlock would want to use this, because Handlock has 4 mana for 8/8s and stuff, which are even better. Looking at this, I don't like it for that, but a deck that I do like this a lot is Freeze Mage. It's really weird, because Freeze Mage is a deck that doesn't have other minions generally, and wants to hit your opponent in the face, even if it's aggro. Like, Freeze Mage is one of the rare like control decks that like wouldn't mind leaving up Leopard Gnome to hit your opponent in the face for 7 just because you're trying to kill them too. Like, Freeze Mage doesn't win from killing every minion, even against Hunter sometimes. It just wins from like burning and racing, you know. And this is a cool card for Freeze Mage, I think, because it does a lot of damage and there's almost no downside to it. But I wouldn't use this in a control deck that would just want to use this to kill Leopard Gnomes. That doesn't make much sense to me in Knife Jugglers. Leave up the Leopard Gnome, go for the face, pretty much. Oh, wait. Only minion on the battlefield. Never mind. Oh my god, what? I thought it was only minion on your side. I don't know, man. I don't know then. Never mind. Just disregard. Just cut that out on YouTube. Just say I forgot about reviewing this card. I don't know then. You can't even defend or Vargas it or Sunfury it then, because yeah, I don't know. Ancient Shade. 4 mana 7/4. Shuffle an Ancient Curse into your deck that deals 7 damage to you when drawn. Let me check out Ancient Curse. This card, I'm not sure whether it works like Burrowing Mine, like for Juggernaut, Iron Juggernaut, where once you get the card, you get another card, or if you just literally take 7 damage and you don't get another card, because you know, it's a lot different. But 4 mana 7/4 is very powerful. I mean, I guess like the deck I see the most like Ancient Shade being useful for is like Aggro Druid right now in a deck with Fel Reaver. Like you just kind of like RNG them down where they don't have an answer for one and they just die, especially combined with Innervate. Okay, so it does redraw. So I think this might be okay for that type of deck in particular, just because I've noticed that Fel Reaver is much better than a deck with Innervate and Ramp. You know, if you're playing Fel Reaver in 5, it's much easier for them to have an answer, but it's really those like random like Innervate Fel Reaver wins, or you know, turn 1 Innervate Coin Ancient Shade followed by Knife Jugglers and Leopard Gnomes. That's what I'm scared of. 4 is obviously a lot squishier than 8 for Fel Reaver, but you know, downside, it feels to me like Ancient Shade is worse than Fel Reaver, but Fel Reaver is like so good in a way in some of these decks that maybe you want to use both. Definitely curious. I wouldn't write this right off Ancient Shade. I would be interested in trying it in like some of those like aggro druids. That's a Shredder, but if you innervate it, it doesn't matter sometimes. Naga Sea Witch, your cards cost 5, 5 mana 5/5, all your cards cost 5. So every cheap card costs more and every expensive card costs less, kind of. So I guess the most obvious implication of Naga Sea Witch is in a ramp druid, where you can play it as a 5 mana 5/5, a fairly competitively costed card, and then you can just start playing like Ysera the next turn. It's just the thing is, like, you're already kind of close to Ysera by turn 6 anyways, or like things like Dr. Boom. Ultimately, until your turn 10, you can't play 2 cards on the same turn either. But this card is like a high threat card, and like when you play Naga Sea Witch, you can just play it because if you're say when you play Naga Sea Witch, you have like some cheap cards like Knife Juggler and Muster Belt, and then you have like some expensive cards like Tyrion. Your opponent still has to respect it and just kill it because of like the Tyrion type cards. So I think this card is interesting. Definitely wouldn't write off this card being not constructed playable. Interesting in testing this card in a multitude of decks. It might be like the most interesting card to test in a variety of decks. So I could see this perhaps being used in a lot of decks. Djinni of Zephyrs. Whenever you cast a spell on another friendly minion, cast a copy of it on this one. So it's like it's a card that's a buff minion. It emphasizes a lot of buffs. Yeah, right now, there's not a lot of decks that run a lot of buffs, like Blessing Kings. I think this is like a priest card. Priests would love this card because, you know, priests like cards that are inverted, like high health, because they can hero power them and heal them. 5 mana for 4/6 is very competitive. As far as like as strong as Druid Call without taunt, and you could like power shield other minions and buff Djinni. You could you could Veil's Chosen their other minions, buff Djinni. Shamans have buffs, there's like Reincarnate and things like that. This card's interesting. Some of these epics are really good, I think. These epics are really good, both of these. Like I would say that they're definitely like that's what we want. We want to try some of these cards out. Oh yeah. So Power Shield would draw another card too. Yeah. This is good. Blessing Kings on another minion, buff to Djinni. It's like Echoing Ooze, except you don't have to do it on the same turn. Djinni, the Djinni. This is pronounced Djinni, right? I think the D is silent. Elise, Starseeker. Battlecry, shuffle the map of the Gold Monkey in your deck. Gold Monkey is like a 2-mana, draw a card, and then place your hand deck with legendary minions. So I don't think this is good, but it's fun for sure. I can't really looking at Challenge Stone and stuff like that. It's not a good thing to have your whole deck as legendaries. Like, people don't want to have a 30-card deck of legendaries. But the interesting thing with Gold Monkey is, by the time that's late game enough, it's certainly going to be well past turn 10 probably when you get the Gold Monkey out. You will probably be stuck in Value Wars by then, but replace your whole hand deck with legendary minions. It's not necessarily a super good thing. While 4-mana for 6/6 is good, like, 4-mana for 6 is like, it's sure it's good, but it's not that good. And by the time that you get out this whole chain, how crazy is that? I don't think I think this card is not that good, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people try it a lot just because of the flavor of it. Obviously, this card does nothing, so by the time that you do get out the Gold Monkey, you're that's a lot of mana and a kind of a weak minion. I don't know though, like, a lot of control class can get away with playing a 4-mana 3/5. It's not exactly that bad. And then once they play the map, the other guy feels pretty all-in sometimes. It might be hard to win a value war against someone that just turns their whole deck into legendaries. It's kind of a hard card to analyze. Yeah, like Grinder Mage maybe. It's like some of these decks though, like Grinder Mage Grinder Mage has a hard time against like aggro or decks that just kill you. It doesn't have a hard time grinding people out. Like, that's not the weakness of Grinder Mage. Like, Grinder Mage can beat classes that try to outgrind you. Bran Bronzebeard or Battlecry trigger twice. So there are some precedents for cards like this. Really reminds me of Flamewaker. It's like a 3-mana for 2/4 where if you leave it up, it could get really scary. And it's a neutral, not a Flamewaker or not a mage card. It being legendary is bad because this is a card where you would want to build your deck around. Like Flamewaker, if you could only run one Flamewaker, it'd be a lot different, right? Flamewaker is like the card that Tempo Mage has been building around. It's like probably the most influential card, or it's close enough to Mana Room, things like that. It's the same thing though, but Bran, you can only use one Bran, so it's hard for you to build a whole deck full of Battlecries just for the one Bran. A lot of decks do like Battlecry minions, so you could just shove Bran in one of those. I'd say it's pretty good because Battlecry's triggering twice, and for a high threat minion like Bran, he might be as scary as Flamewaker to leave up. So one thing is, I don't really see any good 4-drop legendary like Battlecries, which is right after Bran. There's a lot of like 3-drop maybe. Wait, what are Battlecries that are good? Fire Elemental is good. Azure Drake is good. Gnomish Inventor could be played on 4 to get 2 cards. Anything like a Novice Engineer, but that's like really iffy. BGH is useless. Mind Control Tech maybe, but dude, how would that even work? If they have 4 minions, would you steal 2 or would you steal 1? Rumbling Elemental Synergy. It's a interesting card. I think it's good. People should play around with it. Well, double BGH doesn't work with Bran because it only targets 1. You can't kill 2 giants. Sir Finley Mrrgglton. 1 mana for 1/3, discover new hero power. Since you're discovering it, you have a fairly good shot at getting one you want. The hero power that's worse than the late game is Warlock, because as you run out of cards, your life tap becomes useless. You don't really want to tap or as you die, but it's hard to run it in Warlock. Warlock already has Draxus to replace your hero power later on in the game. Maybe the interesting thing about this card is the 1-mana 1/3 Murloc. And you can even think of Battlecry as a downside in a way, because most of the aggro decks that would be Murlocs, they want their hero power, like Hunter maybe or something. I don't feel like the Battlecry is necessarily a positive thing, but rather I feel like the implication of this card is the 1-mana for 1/3 Murloc, which is fairly strong. Life tapping Murloc Shaman. Yeah. Does Priest really not like their hero power? I'm not really sure about that. Oh, maybe. Like, Priest... Imagine Priest a life tap or something. In Shaman with life... It's just everything in the life tap, huh? Like, all these things you just want to change to life tap. It's just like... You never want another hero power if you're using that turn 1. It's pretty much just life tap. The thing is, like... Warlocks build their curve around life tap. They can build a lower curve. Like, you can't rely on Sir Finley Mrrggltoning into life tap and then build your curve around having life tap. So I'm not sure. Reno Jackson, if your deck contains no more than one of any card fully hero. I haven't done the math on this card, but a lot of people have been saying, at first when I was talking about this card on my stream, I was saying like it's very hard for any deck to run 31 ofs. That's super high restriction to use a Reno, and 6 mana 4/6. The body isn't that good. It would have to be like 6 mana for like 6/6, and the battle cry fully here. But since 6 mana 4/6 isn't even that good, then people are saying you can just play it when your deck contains no more than one of any card. At that point, one thing is you better be really good at the game, because if you miscalculate this and you think that your card has you better remember exactly what you played. But this effect is best on turn 6, I would say. Like, a lot of people are thinking like use this on turn 30 when you have no cards, but Hearthstone is so fast, right? Like, I want to heal on turn 6 to full. That's like what it is, right? If we're playing the same game and you by turn 6 against some of these decks, you're like almost dead. You can't really rely on a turn 30 Reno Jackson. You should want to be able to play this card on turn 6 ASAP. And looking at some quick math I did on a stream before, like even if you run 2 of one, like say 2 muster for battle and everything else 1 of, if you want to run on turn 6, so say you've gone through 10 cards, you would have to get that no muster or 1 muster and 10 cards, which is 33% chance and 10. So you have 66% chance of it working. And that's only if you want to play on turn 6 and you have 1 2 of. So there's not much of a difference between just all 31 ofs, and like there's not like you run like 10 10 2 ofs and 10 1 ofs. At that point it's like useless. You can't really even do like even 2 of any one card almost. Freeze Mage does have a lot of 2 ofs, but I'm assuming you're saying you use for Freeze Mage at the end of the game or something, in which case I don't think it's that good. So yeah, definitely an interesting card. For effect this strong, I just wish the effect was stronger than Fully Healer Hero. Maybe not as strong as like you win the game, but maybe something, I don't know, this doesn't seem that strong. Archthief Rafaam. Battlecry discover powerful artifact. These are the powerful artifacts. They're all 10 drops. This one is really strong. Basically like a Muster Core Master plus like, basically a whole board full of 3/3s. And these are like ones you want to use if the game's close to over, if you want to just kill them after Archmage or Archthief. This is really strong. In fact, like, I might rate this as the strongest card of the expansion. It's hard to say because some of these common cards like kind of core, maybe like Battle Raptor and stuff, they're just really good. But like this, I definitely feel like this is stronger than Nefarian. And people do use Nefarian. I could easily see us replacing Ysera / Nefarian effects in Control Warrior or any control deck. Just because, these artifacts, when you discover a powerful artifact, there's only 3 artifacts, so I'm assuming you can just choose like anything, right? You can basically choose one of these. That's what it is. Because there's only 3 artifacts in the game, and you could use a Timepiece of Horror as like random removal against like Paladin and stuff like that by turn 10. If you're gonna die, you can't afford to play the Mirror of Doom. But Mirror of Doom is like almost guarantees that you win in a value game. Like it takes it takes the removal spell to remove Archmage, Archthief, and then you gotta deal with this. It takes like AoE. Even Lantern Power, it's like if you're threatening lethal, you can play Lantern Power as long as you have a minion for that 10 damage. In some of these control decks with not a lot of burn, I think this card's very powerful. Like at the very least, it's much stronger than Nefarian. Ysera is only maybe better just because 412 is outside of BGH range, but I think it's definitely stronger than Nefarian, and it might even be stronger than Ysera. Like this card is really good. It allows a lot of classes to be able to play like a late game value war. I don't think this. Oh yeah, I guess you could trigger it twice, but that's too much of a win more thing. Yeah, 6/8 would definitely be better than a 7/8, but you can't always get everything you want. Looks good. Well, that's my card review. I think that's all the cards. I really like Archthief, and I like some of these commons like Mounted Raptor a lot. I like Desert Camel to some degree. Keeper of Ultiman, I'm fairly unsure, but looks pretty strong. Museum Curator looks pretty good. Rumbling Elemental looks fairly strong. This guy looks pretty good. Fierce Monkey. I really like the epics of this set. Both epics are really cool.